missing from where we tried to bury it. The Batman has to come back.
What if he doesn't exist anymore?
He must.
Halloween!
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
This town needs an enema.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die. Gotham! This is your liberation.
My mother warned me about getting into cars with strange men.
This isn't a car.
20 years in Gotham. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way? He has the power to wipe out the entire human race.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
He's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. In the dark night.
I'm Batman. Let the games begin.
Welcome to the Batman on Film podcast. Here is your host, Bill Jett Ramey, co-host Rick Shew, and the BOF Roundtablers, Justin Kowalski and Ryan Haas.
Hey now, you are listening to Volume 2, Episode 86 of the Batman on Film podcast. I am your podcast host, as well as the founder of Batman on Film, Bill Jett Ramey. With me today, straight from Mesquite, Texas, via West Plano, Texas, is the co-host of
And Bill, you realize this
Rick
is
Shew.
like a negative 47 on everybody's give a shit meter where I'm from, right?
Look, listen here. This is my show. I say whatever the fuck I want. So you want to be introduced the way or not?
Oh my God! Please keep this. Please keep this.
You want to get introduced or not?
Please keep this.
Sorry, folks. This episode is rated R.
All right. Let's go, Ricky Joe Shew. Come on.
What's going on, man? Hi, man. All right, so, hey now, this is Rick Shew coming from behind enemy lines in Plano, Texas. How's that?
Well, why is Plano enemy lines?
I don't know. It just sounded cool.
Okay. Well, there's some kind of weird cultural
Well, when I lived in
socioeconomic thing between
when I lived in Van Nuys, California, and I was mugged at Woodman Avenue in Valerio, that was behind enemy lines, brother.
All right. Okay.
But you chose to be in Van Nuys.
I did, but it's the porn capital. You should have seen my neighbors.
Is that how you met Justin?
Okay, this show's already off the rails. Let's talk about Dark Knight Rises. By the way, who's this guy talking anyway?
You do such a good job.
Tell us where he's from.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear that.
Straight from Los Angeles, California. Where are you at specifically? Are you in West Hollywood?
No, that's Justin's hangout.
Yeah.
All right. Where are you then? Just straight Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay. Is musician, producer, comic book guy, and all-around asshole, FJ.
There you go.
DeSanto. How you doing, FJ?
I'm just being an all-around asshole. That's all I need to worry about.
How is Matilda?
She's literally sitting next to me as we talk. I'm not joking. Literally sitting next to me.
I tell you, my little Boston's going blind, man.
I know.
But
it happens.
Hanging in there. Also on this show are the wonderful, fantastic BOF Roundtablers, Justin Kowalski and Ryan Haas. Please introduce yourself and indicate where you are coming from geographically, sir. Sirs. Justin.
Greetings, podcasters. I'm underneath Wayne Enterprises.
Again, okay. Is that Kermit the Frog or is that Bane? I'm really genuinely asking. Is that
supposed to be Bane? I'm getting like a deja vu here.
Kermit would have been a better casting choice.
Okay.
Or is it?
All right. So that's Ryan Haas, and then Justin.
Ryan.
Hey.
Hold on.
Oh, there we go.
Hold on. Ryan, where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Justin.
Yes, and I am about 50 miles away from FJ in Riverside, California.
It's not foreign.
Home of the orange groves.
All right, we can get into another one of my favorite subtopics here is the weather. Anybody want to talk about weather in their location?
No. It's just hot. Talk about the goddamn movie.
It's just hot as hell here where I'm at. All right.
I'm a little bummed that it's going to be raining all next weekend in Chicago when I'm there for Billy Joel, but that's okay. Other than that, I don't want to talk about weather.
Oh, Billy Joel. Okay.
Or Billy Joel at Wrigley next Saturday, man. Hell yeah.
All right, we're going to talk today about the third and final film of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and that would be 2012's The Dark Knight Rises. So, Rick?
Yes.
Just go.
All right. The first time I saw The Dark Knight Rises, I didn't like it. I saw it at a midnight screening in the Woodlands, Texas, the day of the shooting. So that was just weird, and it was that was a horrible thing, and nobody can get their mind off of it. And I was a little, the movie wasn't what I expected, which is a lot of people's issue with it, I think, or issues that they had with it at one point in time. Saw it again the second day with you, Bill, you and Rachel, at our Batman on Film watch party, and I loved it. I loved it. Once I saw it a second time, and everything just put in perspective. And I've talked about this before. I was always a little upset that he was using Bane when it was first announced. I said, is that what we need? A Chris Nolan Bane? Like, why not a Riddler or a Penguin or a character that hasn't been, sorry for anybody that likes Batman Forever, Batman Returns, but I don't think those characters have been given justice from a cinematic standpoint. At that point in time, or in fact, since then. But anyway, but once I saw it, I got it. And I said, Bruce Batman had to be physically broken. After Heath Ledger's Joker, where do you go from there? If you do the Riddler, you're kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's too similar in a lot of ways. And I feel like that's the reason that Nolan went that route, and rightfully so. And it worked. And I absolutely love it. And in some ways, The Dark Knight Rises, it's my least favorite out of the three. I look at it as one long movie. But, from just an isolated cinematic standpoint, when I have to talk about each film, obviously it's not the strongest one out of the three. But in some ways, and wrap your head around this contradiction, but it ages better. And I can't really put my finger on why. I think some of the social things that are referenced in the film resonate with things that are going on today. And I think that's part of it. I also I'm very much impressed that what made these films work, all three of them, from the very beginning until the very last scene in The Dark Knight Rises, is that for the first time, and nothing against Michael Keaton or anybody else that's played Batman, this is just the filmmaker, and of course the actor had to pull it off, but is that you were invested in Bruce Wayne. And The Dark Knight Rises is truly a Bruce Wayne story. Really, the whole trilogy is. But he is physically Bruce Wayne more than he is Batman in this film. And I personally didn't care, and I barely noticed. And that's part of the magic of that film.
All right. FJ, just come on. Bring it on.
First of all, most of that's a crock. But second, I had the exact opposite thing where I saw it the first time and I thought, like within the first couple of minutes, I sort of went, no. He's retired. It's so many wrong choices. And then, but I liked it. Like, walked out of it sort of very emotional because I think the last scene is great. I'm one of the few people that I know that likes that. He gives it up.
I don't think you're one of the few. I think a lot of people. That's one of the great endings of any comic book.
May I say this? Are you saying that you're one of the few people that don't like the film, but yet you like that ending scene? Is that a fair?
Let me be clear about something. There's a lot I like about the film, and the thing is, you're talking about a fine film. It's not a bad film. It's a fine film. It's just so inferior to the previous two and makes such blatantly wrong choices. And also, wait a minute, let me finish.
All right, go ahead.
Also, it not only makes wrong choices for the in terms of the storytelling, etc. It's lazy in a lot of ways. There's a lot of lazy stuff in it. In particular, just to give you one example of like one sort of dumb, lazy storytelling thing, it's like, Catwoman's like, hey, give me this device. He's like, and friggin' director Krennic is like, you mean the device that blah, 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 and wipes your life?
And then he says it again a minute later.
Yeah, it says it again a minute later. There's just a lot of lazy storytelling in it. And I really think, and for another example is the Miranda Tate thing. You guys were touching on this a little bit yesterday. It's like, no one is buying for 1 minute that's not Talia. Like, or even if you don't know the franchise, it's not a bad guy. And it's just such a lame payoff. It's just lazy. Again, not necessarily the choices. To me, it's the storytelling's off. And I think he's just burned out on the franchise at that point.
See, what I would push back on that, there's a lot of things I'd push back on, but we'll be here all day. But I'll just say this about Miranda Tate. I think that if you know the comics, if you are a Batman fan, we all knew that. It was pretty obvious. I mean, Bill, I think you and I even discussed this before on Batman on Film. Maybe it was private, I don't know. But the average filmmaker, which is 90% of the people that go see this, I don't think they were onto that she was a bad person. I don't think that was executed in a way where the average moviegoer just said, "Oh, she's the bad guy."
Oh my God! Anybody sees that movie and thinks automatically, she's going to turn on him. Like there's nothing more obvious.
I don't know. I think it's because you knew that was. That's. I
mean, but that's irrelevant. But I mean, it's like the stuff we were arguing about over Twitter yesterday. It's like even just when it starts off, like there's so much convenience. It's like, oh, Gordon gets captured and he has a speech in his pocket. Oh, I'm going to go read that speech. I'm going to tear up a picture of Harvey Dent. Blah 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 blah. There's just so many convenient things. And in the end, it just turns out really, really flat. There's nothing wrong with Bruce's, arc or payoff. It's fine, but it lacks all the emotional wallop it could. And what makes it even worse is everything Catwoman in that movie is great. Like, that's great. Like the scene in the bar and all that stuff is awesome. And, and then it's just this weird movie of contradictions. And then the other big problem is the lack of scope in that movie, which I find really odd for him, is like I have no sense of Gotham City under siege. I have no sense of time, how long he's been kidnapped, how long Gotham City's been doing this. Like they say it, but you get no sense. You maybe see like the only person you see sort of, locked up in martial law is Matthew Modine, whose character is awful. And it makes no sense, and then he just sort of is dead. But then you have, it's just this weird contradiction of really lame, small stuff. And then you have the street fight, with the League versus the cops and all that stuff. And it's wonderful. It's like filmed beautifully and, you have this epic sense to it, but you have no sense of anything around it. And then, speaking of geography, Bill, because I'm going to try and salvage the first part of this, that's one of my biggest problems with this movie is geography. It's so blatantly obvious that they didn't shoot it in Chicago that I think it actually hurts the movie in a lot of ways. Whereas in the first two, Chicago was really a character in the movie.
Yeah, it kind of grounds the reality.
Yeah, and it feels like it's been recast. And, this is going to sound awful, but for example, the robbery scene, and I'm not joking when I tell you this, was all filmed from where I lived in New York. A lot of it was. In fact, the whole street fight that I was just talking about is literally around the corner from where I lived for 6-7 years, what is now known as Ground Zero. Mm-hmm. But literally there's a scene where they come out on the bikes on Wall Street, and then they turn the corner, and they're, in downtown LA, where I go get Japanese food. And again, that's only to me, but I feel like a lot of the geography, especially when the Batwing's flying around and all that stuff, just takes you out of the movie, and there's something missing in terms of the locations.
I would agree that I wish that they filmed in Chicago as well, for the most part, because first of all, the architecture in Chicago really defined what Gotham was in these films, but some of the aerial shots of New York, I understand why he did that, because New York is tighter, there's more energy, and I think there was something symbolic about that from a visual standpoint for Nolan. That doesn't mean that he couldn't have done a little bit of a hybrid. I miss some of the Chicago stuff as well, but.
Well, they couldn't, because the true story is they got tremendous tax breaks from the city of Chicago in the first two movies. And then the Transformers movie went and did one in Chicago, gave them even better tax breaks. And then when they wanted to go back to do Rises, the Chicago couldn't give the tax breaks anymore. They were going to go bankrupt. They were going to lose money. So they had to go someplace else, which is why they were in Pittsburgh. Even New York was cheaper at that point.
All right, so Bill, it's my opinion that we should really need to let Ryan talk because I've got a sick feeling in my stomach right now.
A sick feeling.
I need some good Dark Knight Rises mojo.
Oh, I see.
Oh man, I had some thoughts too. No,
Oh, too bad.
No, I know we're gonna get more hate speech here in a minute when you start talking.
Man.
All right?
You only wish.
Yeah.
So Ryan, tell everybody what a great film this is.
I mean, I think it is a great film. It is I've said this before, it's my favorite of the trilogy.
Oh, Jesus.
It is.
The last
it
one.
is because it represents, the culmination of all three films. And it represents, making a story with a beginning, middle, and end. And because it does end, I do agree with FJ. It asks the most of you out of any of the films. You have to be bought into these Nolan movies, and you have to go with the kind of story choices they made. I remember when they first, started talking about the story of the film and the setup and everything in some of the interviews before the film came out, and started to hear things like, well, it takes place 8 years later after The Dark Knight and things like that. And I was just like, what? That just seems like such a crazy choice. Boy, I hope that it makes sense in the film. And for me, it did. I mean, it definitely, I don't think went in ways that a lot of people wanted or expected it to happen. But because it is an ending, I think a lot of people just have problems with Batman ending.
Yeah, I
don't have that problem at all. By the way, I don't think it asks any questions. I don't think it asks remotely any of the questions that the first two movies do. In fact, I think that's a big problem for me, is that it's so just linear storytelling. It feels like a filmmaker trying to impersonate a Nolan movie.
But but FJ, you have to be able to accept the fact that, because this is a big problem that people have with this film, that in my view are being comic book purists when it comes to stuff like this.
Right.
But they have an issue with the fact that Batman retired.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that at all. I love that.
A lot of the common complaints are that
Batman, quote unquote, quit.
Yeah, that's the big complaint.
And I wholeheartedly disagree with Batman wouldn't quit over a girl. I'm like, did you watch the movie? That's not what it's about. But
I agree with that. Sorry, when I was agreeing with was at the end where he gives up being Batman. I have no problem with that.
Oh, that
I love. I love all that. But I agree with Justin, and that it fundamentally seems to betray the character that Nolan's built. In that, I just think he would be the one single-handedly cleaning the crime up. And I still think you can open the movie. In fact, I think they waste too much time Batman's back.
It's kind of interesting. I think it's maybe is even a deliberate choice that they spend a whole hour of the first whole act of the film building up this world and building everything up just to utterly rip it away in the second half. It's kind of, and I think that's deliberate, but character-wise, like when they announced Catwoman and Bane, like Catwoman, first of all, it was like if you've got a checklist of characters that have to be in a Batman trilogy or that you need to see to make it kind of complete or definitive, Catwoman is up there. And, I was curious to see how they would portray the character and portray her relationship with Batman, because it has changed so much over the years. But the way that they went with it for Rises, I thought was really, really well done. I mean, every scene with Anne Hathaway, she kind of steals the show, I think. Yep. And it's done so well. She,
that first transformational moment, Ryan, where she realizes he knows that she has his mother's pearls, and and
she says, "Oops."
Yeah,
she just makes that turn.
First of all, that is sexy AF, and then and the music's amazing, and then
the music's incredible,
and it's so Catwoman. I love that scene.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, it's very, very Catwoman, and the outfit, I mean, it made total sense to have the goggles turn into the cat ears and stuff like that.
I had no problem with that. But I don't know where people are sitting where they get frustrated with the goggles. And all that.
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah. And, Bane, I love Bane. I was one of the people that, I've always liked Nightfall, and I've liked the character of Bane, and he's not somebody that I never thought would really end up being in a Nolan movie because he has those, he has those connotations of being such a major villain and kind of a hard villain to work with, to elevate him above his stunt type of status, that he had for Nightfall. But I think that, we can get into that a little later when we delve into it, but I think there's a lot of really good character stuff and parallels between Batman and Bane that they deliberately put into this movie to kind of show that, and to show that there is a, relation. It's kind of a perfect foil to give Batman at the end, not only physically, but mentally, and kind of as a mirror to Batman's story. So I was thrilled when they said Bane was going to be in the movie, and I got it right away. Like, oh, that makes total sense why you would need to use a character like that for those reasons. Plus, he's a complete 180 from the Joker.
Exactly,
which is something that they needed to do.
You weren't disappointed that he wasn't CGI and he could just become 8 foot tall when he hits the Venom button. Oh, come on!
Yeah.
No, oh my God!
I'm impressed. That's the thing, is like, I'm glad that he wasn't done that way, and I was thrilled that Bane was going to be interpreted by Nolan, because what he does is he takes these characters and he kind of boils them down to their essence, and he kind of asks that question, like, what is this character? What is their purpose? And how do they relate to Bruce Wayne?
And did he require Venom in this film? Did he require Venom?
He had his own version of Venom.
Exactly right. It was addressed. It was that was all intentional.
It's still an element.
And at the end, when he gets punched and the little thing starts shooting out, and he's in pain because that gives him strength. It's all there.
Yeah,
it's all there.
And it's look, I think the character of Bane was improved tremendously by Nolan and his brother and David Goyer in that film. He never was a character in the comic books that I really enjoyed. And I thought they made him a better character instead of just some, steroid freak who, hits a button and becomes this raging super strength madman.
But they take the good elements from the comic and interpret them, like,
and I've
being
seen
smart and wearing down Batman. And,
there's been a little bit more of the Rise's influence on Bane in the comic books of late. I've seen you saw some of it in I Am Bane, if you read that.
You saw some of it in the Lego Batman, because they took
the Lego
that
Batman
sweet
movie.
jacket, and that's the best thing that they added to Bane was the jacket and the voice. Because I'm not even kidding, man. I love that voice, but that jacket, man. He's always warm. He's always ready for the cold. So you're like, you know what, Bane? He is smart. He's thinking about everything. He's thinking about how to mentally break Batman and current weather patterns. So I'm excited about that aspect of Bane.
Yeah.
So
I do think that, and something that Ryan brought up, and I think even Rick, is that, and it's my theory when it comes to Rises. A lot of people who don't like it or have problems with it is, the Batman quitting thing, or being retired for 8 years. But that was set up in Begins.
Yeah.
Batman was was a finite operation for Bruce Wayne. And
Alfred even asks him, how long are you going to do this?
Yes, and you saw it in The Dark Knight, which everyone loves and praises, that he was ready to stop then and have a normal life because Harvey Dent was going to take over the role of, of basically Batman, but without a mask, the White Knight. And even in Rises, when he goes and visits Gordon in the hospital, and he says, we were in this together and then you were gone. And Bruce says, the Batman was no longer needed. We won. And so that element, that was all there. It's not something that was new in for The Dark Knight Rises. It was set up and Begins.
Yeah, but it still doesn't work. I mean, it
does work. How does it not work in that film?
It makes no sense at all. It makes more sense if it ends with him retiring and then it pays all that off. To start Rises with him retired is dumb because it's not over.
But it's not so much. It's not so much that Hey, let me say this. It's not so much that he's retired per se. He is lying dormant because he had to take the fall. And that was the biggest sacrifice that he could have given to his city, which I think is as Batman as you can possibly get. So he goes in hiding, and throughout the course... Now, I will say this. I think 8 years was a little long. When I rewatched it the night before last, I said, I will concede this point. Maybe this should have been 3 or 4 years. 8 years is a long time. That's as long as I was in college.
It's a kind of a reference though to Dark Knight Returns of him being retired, and they needed enough time to let the end of the Dark Knight mean something.
Well, but you could have done that in less than 8 years. But that's nitpicking stuff anyway. I don't want to.
Well,
I shouldn't even.
I think that's huge because he's gone for 8 years. He operates for maybe a year and a half. Like kid, like that little.
Who cares?
I care because it bugged me when with the little kid, the orphan kid. Like I remember Batman. I'm like, you don't remember Batman. You have no like. How are you going to remember? How are you going to remember this guy? Maybe your brother told you, oh, there was Batman, but
he was an urban legend at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, Justin.
But here's the thing. No, it's bullshit. Because here's the thing. It
is not bullshit.
First of all, it is bullshit.
No, it's not. Come on, I want to respond to this.
It overcomplicates the whole movie.
No, it does not.
Yeah, it does too. The movie's a jumbled mess in the beginning. And
no, it's not.
Who was it said before was that the first hour is about him coming back. It's not even that exciting where you could be focused on the story.
Yeah.
You can have the same payoff for the character and not change a thing.
At the end of the Dark Knight, one of the interesting things that they didn't really they didn't show the part that I wanted to see. I wanted to see Batman hunted. I wanted to see, and there's some. I guess I didn't get to share this, but part of my issues with the movie are my own expectations, and that's on me. But they're based upon what was set up, and I really wanted to see that hunt. I wanted to see Batman as the villain for a little bit. I wanted to see that aspect where he had to win back the trust of the people. And the thing is, he did.
Hey, if you want to see Batman as a villain, go watch BVS. You can see
but those scenes are clearly in Rises. They take a whole 5-10 minutes out of the movie to address those.
And I think that's part of the movie too. I think that's part of it too.
Like a rat in a trap, gentlemen. I mean,
all that stuff, stuff, great. I like the chase at that point, but it would have been, man, if it would have just picked up with like, hey, they've been hunting Batman and him having to deal with like, man, the deal he had with Gordon makes sense, and he says that in The Dark Knight. He says you'll hunt me, because he knows if Gordon's hunting them, like they know what the heck's going on. But then that can explode into a bigger problem, and having him deal with that, having the public deal with it, and then coming to a point where the public does find out. Once Bane reads the note, everything's out of the can, and that part, I love that part. I love that part in the movie where what's the heck, John Blake,
where Bane reads the speech.
Yeah, well, John.
What's his name? John Blake.
Well, John has to when he tells Gordon like about his hands being dirty. I love that part because
that's good.
That was one of the deals. Like, you tried to do something good, and they did, but it blew up in their face. Like you can't hide something like that for 8 years, and then when it comes out, it's like, what the hell just happened? The repercussions didn't happen as I would have wanted them to. It was too nice. It was too perfect. Like the Dent Act works. The Dent Act.
We didn't see it. That's the whole point. Yeah. It doesn't. The problem with this movie is those ideas are all really good, but so much happens off screen.
Well, you don't have to see it. It's
oh my God.
Done. I don't know.
Chris Nolan does not spoon feed his audiences.
Oh, that's the lamest.
He doesn't.
No,
I do agree with that. Hey, FJ, just for the record too, I'm kind of isolated on this panel. I don't know about you, sir, but for me, I'm not a Nolan fan like these guys are.
I am.
No, I'm not. I'm saying is that I actually dislike more of his movies than I really love. I think, but the ones I love are masterpieces, right? So I'm saying this from just, I think the Dark Knight trilogy and Memento are his 4 masterpieces. So I just want to kind of give you that frame of reference. Anyway, go ahead, Bill. You were going to say something.
No,
of course he was.
To this. So this is the bottom line. I've said this for 5 years, and I understand. Like Justin, the things he says that bothers him from his Batman fandom point of view, I get. But I think that the people can't reconcile, him not being Batman, because Batman is, forever, no pun intended from the
comics have to be sold every week. Batman is not going to die.
And I go back to what I said earlier. It was set up that Batman was a finite operation for Bruce. They won. It was over with. Batman went into hiding. Bruce Wayne continued on, but that's a whole different thing. I'd have no problem with him, quote unquote, retiring, and then it brought something else. It's very much The Dark Knight Returns. It's different, but it's almost the same thing. Something happened to bring him back, and that was the arrival of Bane and this and that. And
because it's not like he blew up the Batmobile, sold the parts on Amazon, burned his suits. I mean, he was prepared for Batman if he had his bag.
Yeah, and when it comes up, you have Bruce and Gordon, if you say that, Batman Begins as a superhero movie, Dark Knight is a crime noir movie, Rises is like a revolutionary war epic or a disaster film. And Gordon, he's been keeping that lie so long. He's like the old soldier haunted by war, and Bruce is like the old soldier who craves to go back. Thank you, Ricky Church, for that.
No.
Oh, good point. And just to finish up and people just can't get past that this Batman is this interpretation is just a little bit different than what's in the comic books. Batman fights forever, but no one makes these comments about, the Dark Knight, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, the fact that he quit, that he quit. Yeah. And in that story, which I love, absolutely love, Gotham continues on and becomes even more of a shithole.
Exactly.
And he does nothing. It's, until he's Batman Returns, literally into his body, and The Dark Knight Returns. And this one, they won. Gotham got cleaned up. Organized crime was taken care of, and it took something else, to bring him back.
He saved his city. That's it. If you boil down these three films, what is this about? Bruce Wayne saving his city, and that is it. That's all you have to say, and that's beautiful. And I would also argue, and Bill, I talk about this in the op-ed that I wrote 2 years ago for Batman on Film in terms of comic book purism versus the Dark Knight trilogy. And if you want to really look at it, it's all there, and it's not bullshit BS spin. It's all there.
None of my problems have to do with the comic book Batman. All my,
I know you, Justin. I know you.
No, I know, but in this conversation, it's about the Dark Knight. It's not about Batman Returns, BVS, anything. It's about the Dark Knight trilogy of movies.
And I know, but Bill made
that's their go-to bullshit excuse for.
No, this is in some way even correcting something Bill just said, because we often say that Batman ends. It does not. That's the whole point of Batman the ending of The Dark Knight Rises, that Batman doesn't ever end.
And that was brought up in Begins. That was something else that was brought.
And no one's arguing that.
Yeah.
Which is why Robin becomes Batman. But people will say that Batman doesn't end in the comics, but he doesn't end in these films either. Is my point.
No one gives a shit about the comics in this context. It's simply the fact
but there is a point.
And by the way, can anybody blame a man for wanting to just go island hopping with Anne Hathaway the rest of their life?
That's totally fine. That's earned. That's completely earned. But
God, I would.
But
kidding. Happily married, love my kids.
Go, Justin.
My train of thought. I think it's just again going back to that. It just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense for him to be gone for 8 years, or even to quit. Like the whole part about him, thinking it's going to end is the reason why it shouldn't end. Batman thinks, I'm going to solve all these problems, and then there's the escalation. Like it would have been great for him to continue to there's this idea that I had about ending things is not going to end. That's why in Begins, where he's like, I'm going to be a symbol and it's going to be for this amount of time. The payoff is that there is no end. He has to realize,
and that's what does happen in Rises. Well, he's waiting for something to go bad again, and that does.
And I like that part, but it kind of felt like, well, you can't you can't have your cake and eat it too type of deal. Like him going out every night. Like Alfred, by the way, pissed me off so much in that movie because he goes the first two movies, you got to endure, you got to go out there, we burned down the forest, all that stuff. And in this one, he's like, you go stop, you go, all that other stuff. I'm like, we can't tell him
that time has passed. There's always something in the film that explains the rationale behind it.
You told him to endure and to continue to do this, and now you're telling him you need to use your money and your brain.
Well, that was before the Joker and all that, before he defeated the Joker and took care of that threat, and because he was ready to stop before that was all solved, he was ready to give in.
No, I
that.
get that.
Was,
but the part it just did not connect for me. It was really
I got
hard.
you. And look, I have no problem with that, and I would say, would this be fair to say, Justin, that it just didn't reconcile with your Batman sensibilities? That it just conflict. It was a conflict.
Well, I felt like the way the story was set up, it didn't go where I was expecting it to go, and the way I felt like Nolan set it up to go. That was the issue. And then, well, if you want to get into
that's my big. By the way, Justin, I want to take you off 1 second. Justin, you just summed up everything for me. It feels like a lot of the things that were set up don't, and it's not about defying expectation, or it's not about, we're going to go the other way just to, throw people off. It feels like they just either were lazy and didn't want to follow up, or just decided we're going to do this without really thinking about, I don't agree on the Alfred thing, but I just think, Justin, you set it up perfectly. My overall problem with that movie.
Yeah,
and I think Rises is the least lazy. I mean, they had to try really hard.
I feel like there is a lot of, I'm not going to say lazy, but there's a lot of issues where I don't have issues with like Batman, coming back to Gotham. Like people are like, well, how did he get there? Dude, he's freaking Batman. Like, get over that part. The parts that I have issues with is don't give him all these like. I get he had a leg injury, he fell down, but all this like, I put a brace on, I'm good to go. Like all that type of stuff was weird because he's limping around, and then the next night he puts a brace on, and then he's fighting with Catwoman on a roof. Like some of that stuff was hard.
Bill has a good.
He was limping. That was a manifestation of his.
Yeah, but he's been out of it for. That's part of the.
God, you guys make excuses for all this shit that's on screen. You guys will come up with any excuse to justify.
It's all there on the screen, dude.
It's not there. It's not any.
I don't understand.
Here's a good example of it.
In your brain.
Here's a good example. When we referenced earlier the moment with Selena Kyle and him confront one another, and she kicks his thing, and he kind of he falls down. Just his physical reaction to that moment that should tell you something. He's just kind of chilling, going, well, what the heck just happened? If he really had that physical issue and someone did that to him, he's been out of the game for 8 years. That would, what I'm saying? There's all sorts of little nuanced moments like that make you realize that he's more emotionally broken than he has anything. But the physicality aspect of it is also why he had to stop. But he had to come out and endure to defeat Bane.
I disagree right there, because if the physical, okay, let's just talk about what you just said.
But that's why he had
If the physicality is why he had to stop Rick, then why is it all he had to do is put a brace on and he's good to go again? He could have put a brace on like 8 years ago and been fine.
Really? Is that right? Is that why he got his head kicked in and had his back broken by Bane and sent off?
That was because he went in and he didn't plan. Like even Alfred,
because he was also physically
planned. He just exactly, Rick.
He
exactly.
Didn't have it in him anymore. He's wearing a strap on his
He's
leg.
doing it for the wrong reasons too. I think that's part of it.
Yes.
It's Rocky 3.
That just solidifies that point. It doesn't contradict it.
Rocky 3.
Yeah.
It is The Dark Knight Rises, I swear to God, is Rocky 3. That's a podcast in itself.
Oh man, I love the soundtrack to Dark Knight Rises. I think it's the best soundtrack. If I'm going to jump,
the score is phenomenal.
Just talk about something where we can agree. I think the soundtrack's the best of the trilogy. It really is. And this one was just all Zimmer, I believe, right?
Yes.
So was Dark Knight.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Bill,
Dark Knight was both.
No, Dark Knight was both.
Dark Knight didn't have James Newton Howard in it.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does.
He's credited.
This was the one. I think it was just Zimmer, because I think they used some of the pieces from Begins. Is why some of the notes, but Like the Bane track was really good. I think the Bane track.
Yeah, the second movie is both of them. The second movie is definitely both of them.
I'm looking at my poster.
No, I only know this because at the premiere they performed. They performed together.
I stand corrected. Yes, he is he's credited in the
Dark Knight.
Credited in the Dark Knight. Yes, I stand corrected. Okay. Anyway, Rick, you want to ask me something? Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say. So I think we all know where we all stand on the film overall.
Yes.
Right. That's a given. Why don't we discuss just some things that we all like about it? You know?
Can I go through my Bane spiel? Go. It's so here are some observations from both me and Ricky Church and this guy on Twitter named Darren Mooney, who did a really good retrospective live tweet of it. I mean, there are a lot of really good parallels between Batman and Bane in this movie that set up, what happens, and this being a trilogy capper, the end of a story, it's really cool to have a villain that represents all these things that the hero doesn't have or the hero wants. So Nolan runs with Bane as an anti-Batman or Batman without Bruce Wayne, the Bruce Wayne part. Bane is the man who cannot take off the mask that eases his pain. Batman lives under Wayne Manor and Bane lives under Wayne Enterprises. And, you go to Gordon's scene where he says, I hope you have a friend like I did, to John Blake. Batman is Bruce and Gordon's friend. Bane is Talia's friend. Batman shows people they don't have to be afraid. Bane shows people they can channel their anger. I love this one. Batman's mask eases Bruce's emotional pain. Bane's mask eases his physical pain. It does. Bruce defeats Bane literally and figuratively by dismantling his mask. He even deconstructs the legend of Bane along the way in an inverse of what Bane did to Batman, trying to tear down his legacy. And here's the best part. At the end, Bane says, I never escaped. He never escaped the well. Bane is the version of Batman who never left the pit. He's the man who fell, who never picked himself back up. There you go.
Yeah, except Batman was in the pit for 35 minutes.
No, he was so metaphorical. He was in there for 6 months, 6 months minimum, and we also got to see how Ra's al Ghul was immortal in the Nolan universe.
In the well, he falls down. Didn't you see these movies?
I didn't have any issues with him, like the timeline, but I do think it would have served the whole timeline of the movie better if they did say, I think if it was like, hey, 6 months later or whatever, just because it did feel like. How
you have to watch it a few times to pick up on the timeline. Yeah, it's there, but you have to really watch it.
It just would have been helpful to have just a little, like, hey, 4 months later or something like that, because I think it would have gave the even the how long the city's been.
I would say I would say, Justin, to that, and it goes to one of FJ's big complaints about being lazy. I think that would be lazy if they put up 4 months
that's my
later.
point. It's not the choice of, he's been in there for 4 months. It's like when you go look at Batman Begins and he's in a prison and you go through his journey in that first, I feel that timeline. Okay. I feel that timeline in the filmmaking, visually. Sorry, none of that is in this. So, I have no sense of timeline here. I get it. You eventually sort of figure it out. And then you have no idea what's going back in Gotham other than the TV screen of, the president going, here's what's happening. And that's my big problem with the whole movie. So much happens off screen that it actually hurts the story and the narrative of the film. So I'm not saying you have to sit there and show, Bane running around, all this stuff. But there's something inherently lazy about that.
Well, I would disagree. I would say when I watched it, and granted, the Begins thing, yes, it was. I think it's better done. I think it does have a better sense of time. But there was never a point where I thought, yeah, he was barely in this prison. I felt when I watched the movie that he was in there for several months. I mean, he's in there. His back's broke. He's then, and we can say whatever it is. You get hit in the back by the prison doctor, and that's dumb or whatever. And fixes him. Then he spends time. You see him building himself up. He fails in his attempt to get out of the pit, then he finally does it. Yeah, twice, and so I got all of that, and then I just don't. I've never had any issue. The issues I get, and I respect people's issues with the film. I never had them. I'm certainly not trying to make up excuses for this film, unlike Batman v Superman with those fans.
That's inexcusable. That movie, you can't argue that movie.
No. What's inexcusable? Batman versus Superman?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's inexcusable.
And I'm not taking a shot at it.
It's got problems for sure.
I'm not taking a shot at BVS, but maybe I am. But anyway, I just love it, and that gets it's. Let's talk about the things. FJ said you love the Catwoman stuff. Let me ask you, because I know how much of a Robin fan, Dick Grayson Robin fan you are, FJ. So
FJ is wearing green shorts right now.
That's the usual.
And he's got those little elf booties on too, as well.
Bill bought them for me.
I did. He asked for them for Christmas. I bought. He wears them when he walks Matilda. But what did you think of? And I wrote this before because I had no idea. Because Nolan had said he found Robin hard to do, and even Goyer had said at one point that's tricky, to do. So
did Tim Burton.
If you're, that was more of just for time purposes, but I get you. I've said that knowing that this is going to be a trilogy, this is the end. How could you not include Robin and it be even considered? Even definitive. Make an argument for it to be definitive.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to the FJ and you can chime in. But I thought the way it was done was pretty brilliant. I didn't even see it coming, which made the payoff for me a lot better when he goes and picks up his whatever Bruce left him, and she says, you should use your real name, Robin. And I went, I was wow. What's your whole Jeff J? I mean, what's your thoughts about the John Blake and that version of Nolan's version of Robin in this trilogy?
I love it. I have no problem with that at all. I think it's really cool. And when hey, this is sort of the definitive ending of this, it's like that last shot's even great, and that is the payoff to what we were talking about earlier, which is the Batman keeps going. And I think that is a wonderful way of sort of paying that off. So I have no problem with that. If I have problems with him walking into Wayne Manor and be like, dude, I know you're Batman because I saw your smile. And it's like, or I saw your face and you knew what it's like to be an orphan. I'm like,
no way. Well, the issue is like the weird part of this whole like Nolan trilogy is like it's kind of grounded, but this is the one guy with powers. He has orphan vision. And he's able to find out.
Oh dear God!
But yeah, in terms of it's funny because
coming out of my skin right now. It's taking everything in my tongue.
I would love to.
It's a nod. It's a nod to Tim Drake.
It's a nod to Tim Drake. It's right out of A Lonely Place of Dying. If you go to the comics,
it's not the same thing as Lonely Place of Dying.
I don't think anybody.
Yes, it is.
No, I don't think anybody.
You can't keep saying it and make it true. It's not.
Yeah, I can. It's the dialogue and the scene setup is the exact same from the comic, and it is not a stretch.
Don't tell me to not refer to the comic when I criticize this movie, and then use the comic as a way to get your point. Like that makes no sense.
No, you guys are so full of shit. It's amazing.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
Absolute bullshit.
Where's the mute button?
And by the way, I guarantee you, nobody involved with that movie sat there and was like, "Ooh, Lonely Place of Dying."
Yes, they did.
Yes, they
Come
did.
on.
Get out.
Now
you guys
don't say that they did not look at that because I know they did.
The visual even is the same.
I know they did. I know.
Okay. Hold on, Rick. Hold on. All right. So, ignoring all that, which it is a nod to Tim Drake. I'm sorry, but just FJ, what did you see Dick Grayson in this and John Blake? What part of Dick Grayson did they use? Just because he's kind of an amalgamation of.
I don't know. I could be like Rick and start naming which issues they used, but and then say you can't use the issues.
No, that wasn't Rick.
That was actually Ryan.
That was Justin. That was Ryan.
Whoever. And point being is,
not to criticize.
No, it's not a criticism.
No, I'm just saying what. a lot of people.
I never saw
like
a place. I never went into that trilogy ever thinking Dick Grayson could exist in that world.
Yeah.
And to me, especially after Dark Knight, there's no time. Yeah. There's no time. There's no need. So to me, that bit at the end is less about Robin, and that's a little wink nod. It's more about what we've just mentioned several times, the continuation of Batman. That to me is the more payoff, and the Robin comment is just a wink and a nod.
And then but you look back when that happens in the film. At least I did. So you look back when they said Robin, and you go, "Holy shit, he was
Robin the whole time."
He's been like Robin the whole time.
No, but exactly. I never thought of. I thought that was that's a cool interpretation. That's a cool way to put it in.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to get like something we all. Or some of the things that we agree on.
Yeah,
I like arguing here. Okay. All right, Rick, you've been chopping at the bit. Go, dude.
I'm going to run down real fast my top 3 favorite scenes in the film. Okay.
Oh,
and I'm going to do it quickly.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's going to end with this. All right. So my first one, and these aren't necessarily in order, but I just want to echo something FJ said at the beginning. That bar scene with Selena Kyle is. I don't know what it is about that scene. I could watch it a million times.
Great scene.
I don't know. You did just use his cell phone, and then she kicks everybody's ass, and then the police come in, and she has that fake scream which looks real. Mm-hmm. You're going, she is so perfect in this role, and she looks amazing. The scene is well shot. It is completely Selena Kyle. It's awesome. I love it. Mm-hmm. My second scene is probably my 2 favorite scenes of the entire trilogy. The first one is the Joker Batman interrogation scene in The Dark Knight. That's flawless. And then my second favorite, or it's a tie, is when Bruce actually gets out of the pit. And that whole moment is that is so emotional to me. That scene is just remarkable. My third, and it's one of my top 4 in the whole trilogy, and it's in my top 3 in Rises, is when John Blake shows up at Wayne Manor. And the reason that it is because when they sit down and see, for me, when he says, I know who you are, I didn't think that was cheesy at all. It was, to me, that is what gives them their bond. And the way I look at it is that it's not so much that, he just looked at him and said, he kind of looks like Batman in the pictures. It's just, he has studied this guy, and then this guy shows up and he had a look and he just put it all together. And I think
just what Tim Drake did.
No.
It's great, and that dialogue is great. And when he says, Gordon doesn't care who you are, but I we've met before, and I know who you were the first time I saw you, or whatever the dialogue is. And Bruce's look on his face when he looks at him, and that whole moment.
That's what he says. He says he needs the Batman. That's
I like how he challenges him. I like that whole part. How he got there. I can't buy it. I just don't buy it.
I see, and that's cool, and that's okay. And you know what? And one of the reasons I buy it, because that kid is a fantastic actor. Yeah. And his little monologue there is that's some solid film acting, man. That's great. And he talks about losing his parents. The orphans, they don't understand, but everybody tries to understand the anger, but they don't. But that's why I started wearing a mask, so I can fake my smile or whatever. All that stuff. It's just so well done, so well written, and so it's just that is a very gifted actor. And to me, see, Bill, the payoff for me wasn't at the end when he said Robin. That was the moment I went, this is Nolan's Robin. I don't know what he's going to do with it at this point.
You said that right then.
I swear to God I did. Okay. That scene when he showed up, and first of all he said that 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 he's also an orphan, and about his parents dying. His dad was killed in a gambling debt. Over a gambling debt. I went, okay, this is Robin. This is Nolan's Robin right here. Now, I was still excited at the end when he said his real name was Robin. That was a great wink, and that was a cool little moment. I also like the symbolism that Robin becomes Batman. I think that's rad. But that scene, I knew right then and there, this is Nolan's Robin, and I loved it.
Okay. All right. Ryan, your top 3.
Oh, yeah, quickly. Okay. Top 3, just to comment real quick on what Rick said. I mean, when I saw that scene, I didn't say he was Robin right away, but I was like, this guy's really important. He could be kind of a Robin guy, but I know he's really important. I know we're going to... No, I mean, there's something about it.
This is Nolan's Robin.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's okay that he's not Dick Grayson, or whatever, because Robin is more than one person. Robin represents, a lot of different characters that make up a character that has a specific purpose and relationship to Batman. And since this trilogy is all about Bruce Wayne, that makes sense to me, to have the character that represents what Robin is and show him, that's that kind of relationship and importance to Batman. But for my 3 favorite scenes in the film, in no particular order, the first fight between Batman and Bane, it's done spectacularly. It's a fight scene with a story behind it. The dialogue is great. Between Batman and Bane, members of the League of Shadows, and you betrayed us, and I thought you adopted the dark. I was born in it. It's magnificent. It's one of the best scenes in the trilogy. Second, just like Rick said, is when he escapes the pit. That scene is my favorite in all 3 films because it sums up what all 3 films are about. And the last one is the ending, just the straight up ending of the film, because it ties everything together. It shows that Batman's a symbol, and it gives Bruce Wayne a happy ending. And in my opinion, it's absolutely earned. And it's something we're probably not going to see for a long time. I mean, it's one of those things where it wraps up the trilogy. It makes a good case for itself, and it works for me.
All right, FJ, can you pull 3 scenes out from Dark Knight Rises that you like?
Yeah, but I think they've all been.
So please tell us.
I think they've all been mentioned.
All right, but we still want to know and why.
It's the whole Catwoman introduction and all that is great. Okay. Everything with that is great. The bar scene is classic Nolan, really awesome, cool action and great character stuff, and clever how she sort of, with the phone texting the wrong number or dialing the wrong, the other number and all that shit, which is great. Again, I like the ending. I like the whole last 10 minutes of it. I think it's really cool. I think it's really a great payoff for everything. And I mean, I'm trying to think what a third one is, and it's probably another Catwoman scene. It's like, again, it was referenced earlier, which was, the when he returns to the party, or he comes, shows up in the car and everybody's like, oh my God, it's him. And he does the little button to kill all the cameras is great. And then, goes after her. That's all super, like, all the character stuff like that is great. But for me, it all involves Catwoman. Like, I don't, again, I think the Bane scene where he reads the letter is great. It feels small to me. Like, it feels like he's down the street in a corner and there's a camera. Like,
yeah.
But that's, you know what I mean? Like, and that goes back to my earlier thing about No Chicago. I feel like they would have had a better location for that. Mm-hmm. And
I will agree with you on the Chicago thing.
Like it makes me mental. Like,
you know what Emma Thomas's, what their excuse was for not doing Chicago? Because she was asked when I was at the junket. It was, and I love Emma, so if she's listening, I'm not criticizing you. But the reasoning was, and I'm sure I know it was the tax stuff, but it was, well, we wanted to show a different side of Gotham that we didn't see in the first 2 films, which, and to be fair, in Begins, they only shot for a week in Chicago, and that's basically the Tumbler, the big,
the Lower Wacker Drive.
Yeah. But, but Dark Knight, I mean, the whole damn thing was shot there. So, yeah, but I do agree. I wish they had gone back to Chicago. Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like there's scenes I would have liked even more if it had been done, they had different locations or different. Yeah. So, for example, like, I'll give you one thing I don't like, just for context. It's not me shitting on the movie. So it's like the football stadium scene is great, but it doesn't really cut to anything. Meaning, it never shows panic in the city or everybody scrambling and all that stuff. Everything feels so contained. And then the thing goes off, and there's that one scene where they're driving. I think it's John Blake's driving and
to the hospital.
Yeah, and it just feels so. Oh, the hospital scene is good. That's a good scene. But again, nobody's around. It feels small when you put that in comparison to the Joker blowing up the hospital in the previous movie.
That's fair. That's a fair
scrambling. This is my problem with the whole movie as a whole. Is it needed to be either on that same level in terms of scope or bigger. And every time they try to aspire, I still have no sense of Gotham City under siege. The idea, again, that idea is great. Like, oh, Gotham City under siege. Yeah. Okay, that's a great idea. I get no scope. I have no sense.
That's fair, and I would say that's fair. It didn't.
And when he's driving, and it looks like he's just going down an alley in downtown LA.
There was no one around.
That's my problem. Anyway, sorry.
And again, that's fair, and I would agree. It just didn't. It's not like makes me not like the film. It didn't take the greatness of the film overall for me personally. It just didn't suffer for that. All right, Justin.
Yeah,
your top three.
Man, no one mentioned this one, but the whole opening sequence, crashing that plane, I thouot that was
it's great,
an amazing scene.
It's a really well made scene. It's completely unnecessary.
It's
Whereas
awesome,
it's wonderful filmmaking. It's just that guy that they kidnap. Okay, you did all that just to bring him to a stadium and shoot him in the head. It's like if you compare it again to Dark Knight, which is what's the opening IMAX scene? Thing that they shot in IMAX. Yeah, that's my point, is that set up the new villain, that set up the story, that set up everything very clearly, and it had a sense of scope to it. Whereas all I'm sitting there watching that scene going, oh my God, how did they make this shot? But it's like, I don't understand Bane, I don't know who this guy is. With the bank robbery scene in the other movie, you have Bill Fichtner sort of going, you're stealing from the mob, and the Joker payoff of, you don't know which guy's the Joker, and then he reveals at the end, it's like, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit. And that sets the tone of the whole movie. This is just like hollow, empty. Why don't you just shoot the plane down
you have
or
to
something?
figure it out eventually later.
He created the bomb, and he had to have time for this guy to work on it. And then
the guy has to make the bomb, and he's the only person that can.
I know that.
Who else?
But there's no sense of that in the scene.
Yeah,
but there is, because he even has a mask. He's and who could dismantle this bomb? Only me. Only you. Breaks his neck. So in other words, everybody's screwed. This bomb it's imminent. That's as clear as day.
Yeah. All right, come on, Justin. Justin,
I'm gonna go pour a whiskey. Damn it.
Go do it. That's how you deal with being wrong, man. You're gonna.
I mean, you didn't already.
So I like that scene overall. I do have some of the CIA guy. I'm like, come on, dude, you're the CIA. You just take people on a plane. But whatever. I thought it was a cool sequence. You already mentioned this. I love when Bruce makes his final leap. I thought that was awesome. And I love it. Without the rope, he's able to do it. Without the safety net.
The bats come out.
Yeah, dude, that was cool when the music pops up.
I love that.
Like, love that scene. If you don't like that scene, then you don't love Batman. That was in the comics one time. Batman jumped out of a hole. So it's validated, and bats flew out. So now it's okay. Go check that out. Internet Movie Database.
You troll.
And then any scene with Daggett, because I think Ben Mendelsohn was great in that movie. I thought how just his delivery of lines, like when he's in the Wayne boardroom and when he's talking to Selena, and especially that exchange between him
get some girls in
here.
Yeah,
he's the one guy, like, dude, the girls don't like you. Even if you paid them to like you, they're not going to talk to you, Ben Mendelsohn. But he was really good in that movie. And that exchange between him and Bane, where, and then Bane just puts his hand on him. Bane was so... He's just like, you think this gives you power, Bane was great. Bane, the only part about Bane, I know this is great scenes, I just don't like how he was taken out at the end. I thought that was a cheap shot.
Mm-hmm. No, they Boba Fetted him. It was,
they totally Boba Fetted him.
Oh, FJ, now you're going to get Rick on a fucking Star Wars roll. Thanks a lot.
But
story-wise, though, like the moment that Bane's plan or purpose is irrelevant, he goes away. And story-wise, that's why it makes sense. But I
just didn't like how he got taken out. I thought it was.
I'll be honest with you. I think the way he goes out is a stronger cinematic moment than the way Harvey Dent went out and the.
Go pour another whiskey, Rick, because that's
no. And I'm saying that I'm talking about. Let me finish. Is that. I love The Dark Knight. It's an A+. It always will be. But the scene where we lose Harvey Dent is kind of weak. I'm saying the way he dies, he falls. He just falls and he's just dead. It's weak. And I think I think the way that Bane was taken out was far more interesting than the way we
was just shot, and then Catwoman does a stupid line, and Batman's okay with it now. No,
I don't mean to make this like something.
I love. I love that part, but it doesn't hold a candle to Dark Knight the way that comparison. Sorry,
but when she kicks her leg over the bike and says, "I don't think I feel the same way about no guns as you do," That whatever happened before that is irrelevant because we got that moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, and
Go
then
ahead.
no, it just reminded me of another reason why this movie's lazy. Is then the worst part is like in the third act, no one's in Gotham, and she's just walking around Gotham, and he's like, "Yo, I got your thing for you." And here's an apple or something like that. What was that scene?
He got the apple from that kid.
Oh, yeah, it's just so awful. It's just such an awful scene where he's just like, "Oh, I came back from the pit, and here's the thing that I'll erase." No, who gives a shit? Gotham's taken over. Who gives a shit about erasing your friggin'
He's like,
past?
I'll take this real quick. I gotta go make a bat symbol on this building with gas. I'll see.
Yeah, and then go stand on ice that everybody else falls in. It's like, no.
Batman doesn't fall through ice. That's the bottom line.
Nobody else did in that scene. Everybody comes out.
That's because they're not Batman. Batman doesn't.
It was also at night. It was the only scene that you saw at night, which means it was colder and the ice was frozen more.
Okay. All right.
Rick has the science of the Dark Knight Rises book handy.
I am going.
I'm just saying that.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there another scene on ice
third scene?
That was my third
listen.
scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, Boba Fett's overrated.
Now stop with this. Okay, stop. All right,
Coach Ramey.
Can I say that I can't just cheat and say that my favorite scene is the whole damn film. So it's tough for me to pick three. Okay, I like the Selena Bruce first meeting up in his room when she brings his food and all that whole thing. I love that. I love, God Almighty. There's so much. The Bane breaking Batman. That whole scene when she betrays him, and that just the look on her, and that's the credit to her. Just the look on her face as she's watching Batman get the hell beat out of him by Bane, and that whole thing was awesome and well done. And that whole ending sequence is awesome. The whole thing, and everything just starts falling into place. The whole everything, and everyone realizing that Bruce was still alive. Each one of them. With
and Bill
on
your middle scene too, if you don't mind. Let me just elaborate on something on that. It also ties in real nicely when she's watching him get his ass kicked. And then there's that scene where after she's apprehended at the airport, and then she's with quote unquote Robin, and then he's leaving, and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for a friend of mine, Bruce Wayne." And then that connection they have, and then he says, "Did they kill him?" And it was that moment that you realize that they both know the other knows who he really is.
Yeah,
and that's a really strong moment.
Yeah. And like I said, the ending. Each one of them, Lucius Fox and Gordon, and of course, John Blake, Robin, they all realize Bruce is still alive. Bruce gives him the keys to the Batman Empire, and but that's
Alfred
at the end. I lost it, and I cried like a fool at the end of that damn movie, and I love it. Love it. I love the movie. I know that, and I agree. Even FJ had some valid points when he was making valid points instead of just saying it was lazy. Oh yes, whatever.
Look, I put this film at an A-, and I put the other two at A+. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah. And it goes back and forth between an A and an A-, but they're like the autopilot thing. That's pretty awful. I mean, it's just so obvious that I wish that wasn't even in there because it's just a little too much over the head.
How's that awful?
Because it was pretty obvious once he was flying off that it was going to have something to do with autopilot.
Yeah, but it had a payoff with Lucius kind of thing.
I know.
I got to call bullshit on
you. They hit it over the head a little bit too much, though.
They did.
It's referenced like 3 times, I think.
It's referenced with when he shows him the bat the first time. He says, "I need him." Well, I'm trying to be modest. Mine not as busy as mine. Like yours.
And then there's another time when he's working on it.
The bat. Yeah.
And then he's working on it. Then he references it. That's twice. And then at the very end, they're like, wait, the autopilot was fixed? Who fixed it? Bruce Wayne. It's too much. It didn't need for Nolan that is subtle and nuanced and doesn't spoon feed you. He sure as the hell spoon fed the hell.
I don't think they spoon fed that at all. Now you get
I disagree. I like that, but
no, I don't.
It's not that it was there, guys. It was just overkill. They talk about it three different times.
Here's something great and subtle about the ending that I think is really good is the use of Martha's pearls.
Yes,
they've always been in all Batman media. They represent Bruce Wayne's life falling apart. That's when, the idea of Batman is created, or that's when his life gets ruined. And the fact that the film starts with the pearls already intact kind of shows you a hint that maybe Batman's life isn't really lost after all. Maybe,
and it also shows you that that Alfred wasn't having a dream because she's wearing them.
Yeah.
At the end,
and then to have them remain intact and have Selina wear them, I think that shows a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So look, and I know FJ always likes to bust my balls over this movie. He has for the last 5 years, but it's clear you don't despise this film though, do you, FJ?
No, I just don't have interest in rewatching it over and over again like I do the other ones.
And FJ, if you don't mind, and I don't, and forgive me, man, I should know this. I don't know how you rate films. I don't know if you're a 1 to 5, 1 to 10, if you're a letter grade. Do you mind for our audience to break down the 3 films in terms of how you would rate them?
I would rate the first one a 9
out of 10, obviously, right?
Yeah, okay. And then I would rate the second one a 9.5, just for its scope. And then I would give the third one a 7.
That's not bad. I can live with that.
The problem is that it's inconsistent with the other two in terms of its filmmaking and storytelling. Mm-hmm. It's just so inconsistent.
I respectfully disagree, but even I say it's not the strongest one out of the 3. So there is something about it that is lacking from the other 2, whether it's just minor things with someone like myself and Ryan, or if they're grandiose in terms of you and Justin. But at the end of the day, I mean, to follow up, first of all, let's just also, what's the 800-pound gorilla in the room?
Exactly.
It's The Dark Knight. It's Heath Ledger's Joker. It's that film. And other than, the lazy Harvey Dent death, it's flawless.
That is such horseshit, Rick.
It's flawless. It's flawless.
Dude,
it's flawless.
All the things to pick.
You're flawless.
Flawless.
You're trolling.
No, that's my honest complaint. I'm allowed to have a complaint about that film, and that's my complaint. And I'm not trolling. It's an A+ film, right? Okay. I think that his character and his characterization, it was as good as Heath Ledger's Joker. It really was. And I just felt like he deserved a little better of an exit. That's all. But other than that, but to follow up with that film that is borderline flawless, which by the way, there's not a lot of films that are, and to deliver anything that was at least good and an honorable exit, I think was a remarkable achievement within itself.
All right. So real quick, and then we're gonna do some plugs. We're gonna wrap this up like in 5 minutes. What's the legacy of this film? Is it? I think it is the fact that you can end these things. They don't have to be ever. You don't have to run them in the ground and go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So, golly, Rick, real quick, legacy. What's the legacy? Fast.
Well, I think that the legacy of this film is that it showed, much like what you're saying, that a filmmaker could take somebody like Batman and say, I'm gonna break some ground here. I'm going to tell a beginning, middle, and end story of Bruce Wayne's Batman with a real arc, and it's going to have a definitive ending, and it's going to be satisfactory. And I think that's the legacy of it. And right now, what's happening in Batman on film, Batman in cinema, I should say, is it's kind of the antithesis of that. And that's okay. Batman can be burned out and around for 20 years.
We're BatmanOnFilm.com, not Batman in Cinema, dude.
No, I'm talking about Batman in cinema.
He's being pretentious.
Now. Yeah, right. Is that
he wasn't already?
Is that now we have the antithesis of that right now, and for me, so far, it's not working. So a lot of the legacy right now is watching filmmakers scramble to make Batman work on film again, and it's not Ben Affleck's fault because I want him back, even though I don't think he's coming back after Justice League, but I hope he does. But that's another conversation we've had 5 million times. But I just think that that's the legacy of the film, is that look at what's happening right now. It's I think they're struggling of what to do with this character from this point. And the first thing Matt Reeves references when he talks about his standalone film, which I really do believe is going to be great, he talks about the Nolan films. I think that's the legacy.
All right. FJ.
Look, I think what this did was establish the filmmaker as the auteur, which unfortunately, as you were just saying, it's not going to be. To me, this is no different than Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns in that it's a singular vision in a self-contained story and can exist on its own. I don't ever want to see them come back and do this. You know what I mean? Like, and as much as I don't like this third movie, it's not so bad where you feel like, oh, they got to come back and do it right. Like, to an example is Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones, where it's just like, y'all need to come back and do one more. Yeah, like, so you go out on top kind of thing. Like, I still think, like, hey, this is a satisfying ending. It's a payoff and all that. And I think what it did was it ushered in a whole era of dark, where very less intelligent people sat there and just assumed everybody liked those movies because they were quote-unquote dark, when in fact, no, they were grounded, and actually there's a lot of humor in this that you've all missed, and it's all character-based stuff, and I feel if anybody has sort of taken that model and figured out how to do it, it's actually Marvel, which seems weird when I say it, but in terms of how to make character, I think it influenced a lot of character-based stuff that a lot of people, especially people who are currently handling a lot of the DC stuff, didn't quite take from. And by the way,
that's very well.
The sea change is that you can't do that. You can't make that with every character. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about the latest Spider-Man movie, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I love it.
And that's all based on the character, and all the bells and whistles come later. And what Begins did was set up this story about this dude who went through this traumatic experience to go on to do this thing, and that carries over. And the problem is anything. I get, by the way, why they would sit there and go, we're going to do Affleck as Batman in like a sort of ultra aggressive Frank Miller version, because it is sort of the antithesis of what exists. Because what's the other example? You're going to bring back, do the modern version of Adam West? You know what I mean? Like, you can't. So I get that. It's just executed wrong. It's the right idea. So it's very much a Batman of its time that will stay in its time and always stand out in its time for being. Out of 3 movies, there's a great near classic movie. That's the first one. A classic movie. That's the second one. And a really, really good movie. And that's the third one.
Wow. That was awesome, man.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
That should just be the whole show. Just take that part and that's your whole show.
I can't. I got to. Hey, and by the way, Ryan and Justin, if you guys don't mind too, before you talk about your legacy, break down how you feel about how you rank the 3 films too.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Justin.
I will say Begins is my favorite, and Dark Knight is right next to it, and then Rises is below it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, can you give him?
Sorry, great. Batman Begins. It's like 10, 10, 6. To be honest, that's where I'm at.
6?
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you. We don't have a lot of time. I didn't get into a lot of my issues with this movie, and I don't want to be here and crap all over it. I mean, it's just that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Dark Knight Rises.
You didn't.
I don't think I talked a lot about my issues with the movie.
The only thing that I recall that you didn't bring up was the guys falling down in the fight scenes. Which that's
terrible. I don't care who you are. If anyone gives me a reason why the fight scenes are terrible, I'll think you're an idiot. They're just bad choreographed, lazy filmmaking right there. There's this issue. I mean, I have issues with Bane's plan. Like, that's obviously fraudulent. Like, then I'm sure like the banks would be like, oh yeah, this isn't a real issue. We're going to take care of this. Bruce Wayne doesn't lose all his money. That's just a weak part of the plot. And I'm like, I don't get that. So I just have a lot of issues. I don't want to get into it. It's the end of the show. I don't want to so here's all my issues now and wrap them up in 5 minutes.
It's better than what happened in Rocky 5. I'm kidding.
Justin,
but yes.
I will look. You write an op-ed, I'll put it on Batman on Film.
There we go. And that's probably the best way to encapsulate it, because I'm so tired of talking about The Dark Knight Rises on Twitter, dude. It happened.
Well,
sometimes it's just fun. Sometimes it's fun to poke a little bit.
And I hate to do this to you, and I don't want to open up a can of worms as we're trying to close. As we're trying to close the show out, because my wife's going to kill me if I'm still talking in 10 minutes. What if it is a 6 on a scale to 1 to 10? How do you rank Batman Returns?
Gosh, they have nothing to do with each other. They have nothing to do with each other.
They absolutely do. It's a question.
Yeah, but Batman Returns is a different thing for me. I watched that when I was a kid, and it meant something to me. And
hey, let me ask you a question on Batman Returns and The Dark Knight Rises. I wanted to bring this up earlier.
Rick, you're carrying the show into oblivion, man.
Hold on. It's a quick question. I swear it's a kind of a yes or no.
No.
It's quick. I promise.
Writing this down. Hurry up.
The scene with Bruce and Selina at the party, do you think that was paying homage to that Batman Returns?
Oh, for sure. It's so on the nose that
I think that's awesome, by the way, because I love both those scenes.
I think that's bullshit. They're not paying an homage to Batman Returns.
It's just so. I mean, it's so similar though.
Both are great. Both are
they're
great
both
scenes.
Masquerades.
Yes, they're both
great
scenes.
Like Bruce is not wearing a mask. I mean, just it.
Who are you, Bruce Wayne? Eccentric Billy.
Yeah. Trust fund goody. Anyways,
that's fair. Dude, I would encourage you to write an op-ed. I think it would be great.
I'm serious. I'm dead serious. All right.
But I don't hate people who like it. That's the thing. I'm not going to go out of my way to convince you otherwise.
Yes.
I get it.
Okay. All right. Ryan, quickly. Really.
I love this movie.
Thanks to Rick. Rick took all your time up with more. Whatever. I'm
A plus.
Yeah, you're ranting about me taking up more time than my rant. Go ahead, Ryan.
A plus. I think the legacy of this film and the Dark Knight trilogy is that the film comes first. The film comes before the franchise. It's about trusting the filmmaker to make a good movie. And the characters in the case of the trilogy, Bruce Wayne, he's the most important part of the trilogy. And all the characters are brought down to their essence, and they're true to the characters. It's true to, everything that came before, but it's also something new and something fresh, but it doesn't betray that. And I think that's why it will continue to be, the benchmark for the entire superhero genre. And they're just good films. So that's what I think. And it's hard to rank all three separately because they're one big story, but Rises is my favorite. I rank Rises, Begins, and then The Dark Knight, but they're so close. But yeah.
All right. So real quick, and we've done it before, but I'll say it. My favorite, if I had to rank them, Batman Begins is my favorite Batman movie of all time. I love that movie. It's my favorite of three. Dark Knight is second. I think The Dark Knight is probably a better film, but it's still Batman Begins. I love it, and it's my favorite, as I said. And then a notch or two below those two is Rises, which I do love, and I would agree, even with what FJ said, it's not as great of a film as the other two, but the legacy for me. It was a very positive, very satisfying payoff to that story, because it was about Bruce Wayne. The Bruce Wayne we met in Begins, and I was extremely satisfied and happy with the third film, and especially the way he ended with his, it ends with him getting a happy ending. It was awesome. So, all right, let's plug some stuff. FJ, quick, what you got? Anything you got? You got a bunch of stuff going on, man.
I've got a book out
and everything.
I've got a book out right now called Failsafe, which is the third issue, just came out, and I think the fourth one's out this month, from Vault Comics. And then a book I collaborated on with Mark Wahlberg's company just came out, called Alien Bounty Hunter.
Yeah,
which the first printing just sold out, and that's also from Vault. And right now I'm in production on the second season of the Transformers anime for Machinima and Hasbro. That'll be out in November.
Okay. Hey, is that Alien Bounty Hunter going to be a film?
Maybe someday. Well, right now I'm just worried about making the comic good, and then stay tuned.
Okay. About Twitter, you gonna plug your Twitter?
Oh, yeah, and at FJ DeSanto.
Okay. Justin.
Hey, yeah, just check me out on Twitter at J_Rocka, and then head up letsgocast.com if you want to check out those 2 shows that we're doing there, and probably adding a 3rd in the fall.
Ryan.
Ooh. Follow me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan, and follow the Tim Drake podcast, Everyone Loves a Drake, at ELTD Podcast.
Ricker. The Rickster.
Follow me, Shew Rick, SHEWRICK on Twitter. If you're into politics, the latest Left Shoe Politics podcast is up, and I'm going to get FJ on that show at some point. And we just talk about Trump's transgender military ban, amongst other things. It's a good show. And quick question for FJ. FJ, are they going to do a Ewan McGregor standalone Obi-Wan movie or not?
I think they would be stupid not to.
Okay. That's what I love to hear.
But I haven't heard anything in terms of if they are or not.
Rick, cool. You got a Star Wars show coming up?
Yeah, we have a lot of different things on the horizon here. We're certainly going to talk about. We're going to do like a top favorite scenes in Star Wars. Obviously, Last Jedi stuff will be coming out soon. There'll be another trailer hopefully in the next couple of months. So I think we'll do at least 3 by the end of the year, especially considering that the Last Jedi comes out in December. I'm really excited about the Rocky podcast. I don't know anybody else is. I am. It is apparent Dolph Lundgren is going to be in Creed 2, and I don't know where that's going, but that's a pretty wild.
Have they done a Rocky podcast before? Are there Rocky podcasts?
We've never done one. I've never seen one.
I've been on one. I was on the sequel cast. Did a whole series of all 5, and I was on the Rocky 5 episode. It was a fun time.
That's going to be the hard thing about navigating this podcast is that if it's a franchise podcast, there are now 6 films or 7 films. That'll be difficult. But we can just not talk about Rocky 2 except for the last 30 seconds of the movie anyway. Right? We'll just skip that one.
Okay. And also, let's see. All right, new BOF 2.0 is in the works, right, Justin?
That's right.
Working on that behind the scenes. Justin thinks we can get it. I said January of 2018, and Justin's of the belief we can put that thing out before. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh,
we're doing some reshoots, so we'll see.
Yeah. Justin.
Sorry.
$25 million.
Yeah, it's costing $25 million on these Batman films.
We just got to shave. We have to shave them mustache.
We reshot this Rises podcast.
We did reshoot the Rises podcast. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's move on.
And we're going to CGI out FJ's wonderful beard once the podcast goes live. Let's see. Anyway, Austin in November. Justice League, Batman on Film watch party. It's going to be fun. I've been trying to talk FJ to come in. He likes Austin, and I'm trying to get him to come down there. So FJ, you're invited. You'll be the guest of honor if you make it down there. But it's Austin, man. Besides that 2.5 hour moment you have to spend watching that film, you can hang out in Austin, dude. And Rachel will be there, so.
Well,
FJ likes Rachel better than me, so.
I don't think that's a secret.
And so.
And I don't think that's not understandable.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm the only one.
Yes, she is not an asshole like me, and she is a way better person. I will give her that. All right, so speaking of which, announcer Rachel will take us out, and we will catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Jett.BatmanOnFilm. Email Jett via Jett@batman-on-film.com. Follow Rick on Twitter at ShewRick and on Facebook at facebook.com/BOF-Shew. For Jett, Rick, Justin, and Ryan, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.